Sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. We have a liftoff. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to PCKC TV. This is John Kreicbergs, along with Christopher Jackson and William Binderup. It must be Wednesday again because we're talking comics, guys.
Today's the magic day.
I love
William
it.
and I almost never talk comics.
Especially not on Wednesdays, right?
Usually not on Wednesdays. Usually I'm trying to sling them at the shop.
There you go.
Oh, but hopefully soon, so very soon. These will be changing, man.
20th.
I love it. I love it. Anything new since we talked last about any of that sort of stuff as you kind of prep for it?
Well, I guess we got confirmed the 20th is going to be the first new book day since the shutdown. Invoices are out. Everything's happening. It looks like we're actually going to have new books on the 20th.
Excellent. So if you're just joining us for the first time, my name is John Kreicbergs. I'm here with Christopher Jackson, CEO, Planet Comicon Kansas City, and William Binderup, owner and operator of Elite Comics, one of our favorite comic shops here in Kansas City, and a longtime friend of Planet Comicon Kansas City. Guys, we got a really interesting kind of show lined up here for today because this is going to be really cool for me because I am woefully uneducated when it comes to a lot of things about the kind of the finer points of collecting comics, really. And you guys got some really interesting stuff to talk about today with that regard. As always, we're going to be recognizing some of our friends and exhibitors, crafters, artists, retailers, everybody that that we were hoping to see in March, that we hope again to see in August, but we definitely want to be giving them some love. So we'll be doing some shout outs also during the broadcast here. So, Chris, we touched on some things over the last few weeks about your relationship with comics. And we've always said Planet Comicon Kansas City is a really interesting show because it has such a, comic book forward kind of view of things. But just again, how did you kind of get into collecting, comics, when you were younger, and how's that sort of changed between then and now for you?
Well, the reason Planet Comicon exists basically is because I collected comics as a kid. So that's not always true with conventions now. Not all promoters are comic collectors. Mm-hmm. So, but it goes back to the mid 1960s, early 1960s. And I started buying comic books off the stands, the spinner racks, and the wall racks, the kind of racks that William has in his store. Mm-hmm. They had a lot of those back then. And I'd go up to the local drugstore, the grocery store. I remember Dahl's grocery store had a wall rack with comics. There were several drugstores that I'd ride my bicycle to and buy the 12-cent comics off the spinner rack. I remember getting an old Daredevil comic from the barber at my grandfather's small town outside Des Moines. I mean, barber shops always had comics on the shelf. And I was reading a Daredevil comic, like number 25 or 26, and he let me take it home with me. I remember that was amazing.
But not really collecting per se. I mean, collecting as much as any kid kind of, wants to get their hands on something, just read something, right?
Yeah, you bought, well, it was harder to collect runs then because there was the distribution system was different. Mm-hmm. And the distributors sent a selection of comic books out to the various shops, and they got what they got, and that was it. You didn't order what you wanted. Yeah. So if you didn't get there, if you got Spider-Man 28, you might not get Spider-Man 29 at the same shop. Yeah. So you just have to be lucky.
So William, you told me that you kind of, the way you entered into comics as, as the owner and operator of Elite is an interesting story, kind of a change of careers for you.
Yeah.
But let's go back. Let's go back a little further. What got you into kind of picking up comic books and getting interested in comic books?
I bought them at TG&Y at 75th and Metcalf when I was a kid, which is now a CBS, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why I still like, and I like back then, any one and done stories, because I could never get two consecutive issues ever.
And how old were you? When you were first?
I don't know, 10 maybe. 10 or 11, we could walk up from our house to the TG&Y and get comics. But yeah, I loved it when there's either one and dones that had those 80-page giants, which had multiple complete stories, because they just didn't have. It wasn't like, if you come next month, you get the next one. It was totally random. They might have Thor, Captain America, Iron Man, and the next month would be Superman and Batman, and the next month would be Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck, and it was totally random. You just got what you could get. You get I wasn't like, you get to the end and there'd be a cliffhanger, and you're like, well, I guess I'll make up my own ending.
I'd mentioned one of the stories I think is one of my favorite comic book stories is a Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 31, 2, and 3 with the Master Planner who ends up being Dr. Octopus. Spoiler. And I read number 31 and 32, and it was years before I read number 33. Years.
Yeah,
so,
they weren't. And there was, when I was a kid, in downtown Overland Park, the thing that they've made out to look like Manhattan now with all the apartments they put up there and all that. But that used to be like a quaint little downtown. Someone opened a comic book shop there when I was a kid that had back issues. I don't remember the guy's name. It was a person's name, Bob or whatever. And we could go there and buy back issues. And then I remember we had not gone for a few weeks. And when I came back, it was like a health food store. The comic shop was completely gone. And they're like, you want to go in and you can get a carrot juice and some vitamin C. I was like, what the hell? Where is the comic book store? It completely vanished in a matter of weeks.
And it's different now. It really is different now. I'd say there's a number. Obviously, there's Elite, but there's a number of stores around town. And places that are more neighborhood driven. I'm over here on the east side of Kansas City in the Blue Springs area. So, we've got our good folks over here. So, it's kind of a completely different deal now. The idea of not having to say goodbye to a storyline just because, next month they decided to put something else on the stand.
Yeah.
So it's like, I guess it's my way of saying kids these days, they have it so easy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, you can find anything now, pretty much.
Yeah, you can get anything in the world.
It is different in that regard. You can find anything now easily, and you could not back then. You just couldn't.
So I think it's evolved a little bit in the people that collect stuff. There was you had to go to a comic shop or a convention to get old books.
Yeah.
Then the internet came along, and you could just order whatever you wanted, whenever you wanted, and that kind of ran like that for a while. Now it seems like people go back and they're like, well, I could just order this online, but what fun is that? We want to go and hunt it down and shop and find one and look at it and talk to the guy and make a bargain and all that. And you're like, it's not the same thing to just go online and go click. Oh, now I've got it.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you. And, I think that's going to be one of the funny things that we're going to talk about is we're going to talk a little bit about the difference between what it was like then, what it's like now. But I think, there's people, Tim chiming in here. I rode my bike to 7-Eleven for an icy and comic books. I think you just described.
I like the Icon too.
Yeah, that's awesome too. Oh yeah, we've looked at that one.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it's going to be. It's going to be about today. So real quick, just to take a quick pause though, we're gonna say hi to some folks that we haven't said hi to a while, and kind of bring them up and give them some recognition. We're going to talk authors here on this first break here. And some of the folks that come into Planet Comicon Kansas City on a regular basis, or folks that have been with us. And, we got some really cool things. So the other thing we're trying to do too, is we're trying to represent people more visually. So we can take a look at their work and also give you the links that you guys there and go and check out some of these folks. Chris, these are obviously folks who have been with Comicon, in the past, or, for on an ongoing basis. So, it's hopefully that we'll be able to see them again real soon.
Yeah, they've been great supporters of Planet, and we hope we provided them a venue where they can meet more of their readers.
And, it's a great time to be reading right now. I mean, there's a lot of great times to be picking up a book and looking at stuff. So these are folks you should definitely check out. Variety of different formats too. So for you folks who prefer your audiobooks and things like that, definitely look at their websites. Many of them are on Amazon as well. I think all three of these authors, as I recall, are on Amazon. So, so William, it's kind of interesting stuff here. I want to talk a little bit. Just when you have people that kind of come into the shop, all right, maybe they're having that sort of recall back to being a kid and going up to the 7-Eleven, stuff like that. Maybe they were collectors before, maybe they've never collected in their life, but they kind of look at you and they say, how do I go about getting into something like this? And what are the questions you ask them? Because I think there's a lot of you two demonstrate there's a lot of different reasons to collect.
Well, you kind of got to figure out what it is there's multiple reasons to get into. There's a lot of people trying to get into comics now because they want to be in the comic business. Mm-hmm. They want to buy comics and resell them online.
So more of an investment kind of an approach.
Yeah, so they want to talk variant covers and condition and rarity and all that. Then there's other people that I really want to get into reading comics. What's a good story is there a place I could start on? And it's not in the world now, it's not like people no one goes, who's Spider-Man? Mm-hmm. They all know who Spider-Man or Superman is. They're like, what's a good Spider-Man or good Superman story I could start on now? So you can get them, you start with these, and then once you read these 5, you're caught up, and then next month there'll be a new one, and each month you could get a new episode.
Right.
But or then there's people that just have not been in it at all. They don't have childhood memories of it. They don't have anything. They just and it's kind of, I kind of like when people come in, just tell me what to get. Mm-hmm. You pick a good book, put it in my hand, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to read comics. So we always go, if someone does that, I always go with Saga. It's an image book it's on hiatus right now, but there's 9 trades.
Right.
Super awesome. We sell it guaranteed. If you don't like it, you can bring it back. No one's ever brought it back. So, I have a few go-to things that try this. You will like this.
Yeah. Well, and so to push on that, so let's say, there's the storyline part of it. And I mean, that's probably where I find myself as a quote unquote collector. But what about the folks that kind of come in and maybe they're kind of scoping you out a little bit? Maybe they're already an existing collector and they're looking for, books and stuff like that. What's that conversation like for you?
Well, it's interesting. There's a lot of, ever since, and I think we're going to talk about grading later, but ever since grading came along, and then there's a lot of comic collecting apps that people have gotten into, these key collector and different apps that tell them, here's the book you should go buy and here's how much you should pay for it. Mm-hmm. So they want to come in and they have their phone and they go, hey, I'm looking for this first appearance, this key appearance, this thing.
Yeah.
I know I want to pay this much for it, and on and on and on. And it's a whole different world when people they're just looking for something that they can invest in or flip and make money on. I do have every so often someone comes in and they'll be looking at new books and well, which one of these things that is selling for cover price right now do you think is going to really go up in price quickly? I'm like, well, if I knew that, I wouldn't sell it to you for $4. If I knew next week it was going to be $50, I'd hold on to it. No one knows. That's the gamble if you're going to be an investor in comics. You gotta take a flyer.
Well, and so do you sell? Well, let's go ahead and open up the box. So, we want to talk a little bit about grading. We want to talk a little bit about kind of buying things and stuff like that. Do you sell graded comics?
I do.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And is it a big part of what you guys do, or is it? Would you say? Okay.
It's not. Some people like graded comics. I don't have anything against them per se. They're just not exactly for me.
Yeah.
For me, I want the actual object. I want to be able to touch the object, go through it, read it. Once you've encapsulated it in a thing, it kind of, I don't know, it takes something out of it for me. But I understand there are a lot of people that I want to know what grade this is by a third party company. has verified this and all that. I think what grading has brought in is people that were coin and stamp collectors can now collect comics, because coins and stamps have been third-party graded forever.
Right. So there you got a rating system.
Third-party graded, then they can then they can think of it as investing, because they're like, okay, well, this third party has told me it's this grade, and
sets a market value that's hopefully can be consistent or consistently executed from one transaction to the next.
Yeah. It's really allowed comic books to become an investment field.
Yeah.
Because previously, investors who want to get into it for that purpose solely, they did not know how to grade. And now some, as William said, a third-party independent grader has told you what grade it is. They've encapsulated it. It can't be changed. They've looked at, it can't be altered. It can't be removed without you knowing it. It has also been examined for things like restoration, for color touch, for trimming. So you know whether that book is original and unaltered. And that's very important for buyers. It's one of the few reasons I actually do occasionally buy a CGC graded book, is because it's becoming more common, and it gets into another subject. When you're buying in various places like eBay, you got to be careful, because some sellers sell books that have been altered. They have color touch. They have trimming. They're missing a page, and the seller may know it or not know it. They may disclose it or not disclose it. And you just don't know.
Well, and let's go into that, because these books can get really expensive. It's not uncommon that we see the headlines come up with so and so comic goes up for auction or something like that for purchase, and millions of dollars, crazy stuff. But even good tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, it's there. What are some of the important things that you look out for, Chris? The things that you've learned that you've kind of had to look out for as you kind of do more online transactions for this stuff?
I'd like to talk about that a little bit. I actually am buying quite a few books on eBay now.
Yeah.
And during this time, I'll sit in at home and watch a show while I'm going through some eBay listings from certain sellers. I've got certain sellers I like to look at who are selling. By the way, and I think I've said this before, I don't collect for condition. Sure. I collect because I want the book. The grading is going from a high of near mint down to a low of good. It goes below to fair. So you got near mint, very fine, very good, going down. And then in CGC grading, they put that on a 10 to 1 scale.
So I'm going to bring up
there's an example. Okay.
So that's a great example that you gave me about stuff that you collect because you like it. Because I think we've been on here. We've done this 3-4 weeks now.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's been an episode that's gone by where you haven't mentioned Millie the Model and some of these.
There you go. I love Millie the Model.
I know, because you're collecting some of these, and it's really interesting. So let's describe a little bit what people.
I bought this within the last 2 months on eBay.
So I'm thinking as an outsider, October 1946. This is really old. It's got to be really valuable, And then you do have the grading that's there. So I know nothing.
The book is rare. That's actually a very tough book. I was saying earlier, if you go on eBay now, you may find 0 copies of that book on eBay.
But
whereas you'll find lots of other books like Hulk 181, Iron Man 1, Captain America 1, Batman 100. Any of those books you're going to find a lot of. You'll find very few of this. Now, this book is in terrible shape.
Right. I'm looking at torn cover.
Yeah, terrible shape.
Staples are kind of separated on the sides here. Obviously, writing the cross, chewed up corners. So this is actually a CGC grade 1.
That's below good. Good is like considered, I don't know, lowest collectible grade. I don't know. I don't mind having a fair. This is considered fair.
Yeah.
In my mind, this book has to be complete in order to have that notation. And CGC actually is very good because they'll make a notation at the top if there's something missing. Like a 1.0 could be missing something, but right under the title at the top, it would say centerfold loose or centerfold missing or non-story page missing or something. That was happening. And this, by the way, is a book that I'm going to break out of here one of these days and read because that's why I bought it. But
and Bill, we were talking earlier, and you said you kind of have a theory as to why something like this should not necessarily be considered. Why would you grade something like that? Why people get them graded?
I think a book that terrible of condition.
Yeah.
Someone might have graded it so that it won't get any worse.
Okay, so you think they're actually literally buying it for the protective case?
Yeah, you put it in there. You're not going to open your box and find little bits of cover, in the bottom of the box. It's now encapsulated. It's in bad condition, but it's not going to get any worse.
Right.
No, it won't.
It looks cool in that. If you really wanted to display it, they look kind of cool in that.
Right.
But I would pay the same price for that book, graded or ungraded. I don't need to see that it's a 1.0. So.
Yeah. All right, so we got some other photos here. There's another one that I want to pull up here. This Amazing Spider-Man with Punisher, because it's got a 9.0 grade to it. So tell me
that's a better condition book.
All right, so let's take a look at this guy. One, awesome cover. I mean, let's just start there.
First appearance of the Punisher. That is a copy I picked up in a collection maybe 10 years ago. That's not my original copy.
February 1974.
Yeah. And I pulled it out to take it to my show in 2016. I had Stan Lee sign it. And then CGC has what they call a witnessing service. And they'll witness the signature. They take possession of the book at that point, so it's never out of their possession after they witnessed it. And they'll encapsulate it and put the signature series label on it with the yellow label, and that is very popular among buyers.
So now typically, so this really kind of brings up an interesting point because we get this question all the time with Planet Comicon. CGC is a group that does these sort of certifications, these or facilitate them. I know there's a whole terminology here I got to be real careful with. And these are folks, you have these types of folks at Planet Comicon usually on a regular basis.
There are two main companies that encapsulate books, and they are CGC and CBCS.
Okay.
CGC does not set up as a company at very many conventions anymore. A few. They've set up at Planet before, but they've not set up recently. But we have a CGC facilitator at the show.
Yeah.
And that person can witness books and submit them on behalf of the fan. CBCS is another company. It was acquired by Beckett a few years ago. They set up as a company. Both CBCS and Beckett set up, and they authenticate autographs. They'll if you get a photo signed by a celebrity, you can go get that authenticated by CBCS. You can have a CBCS witness go with you to one of our guests and have a book signed and witnessed by that person. They'll take possession of it and have it graded for you.
Awesome.
So both of those entities are at the show. There are a couple of other entities. Is PGX still in business, William? I just don't know.
They are, but very, very.
Yeah, there's a couple of other businesses, but it's really CGC and CBCS who do this.
One more thing before we move away from this cover, Chris, you were telling me earlier too. What's the deal with the? You said something along the spine with that. Sometimes people do. A less than honest thing to do.
Well, it depends on if they disclose it. It's fairly common with books, and that's one reason to be careful in buying books, and I want to go into that. If you're buying a CGC book, you'll know. Some books have the owners will take a marker or a highlighter or a black Sharpie if it's a black spine, and they'll try to clean it up and make a cover look better. There'll be a color break along the spine edge, and
like what we're looking at right here with this one, right?
I'm trying to see that.
The Spider-Man Punisher, it's got a little bit of a.
Okay, I don't see it right now, but there probably are. It's a 9.0, so it's going to have a couple color breaks. There's just almost no question about that.
Yeah.
But people will take particularly on black covers, like Amazing Spider-Man 28, the first Molten Man, or Amazing Spider-Man 13 with the first Mysterio. There's a black strip along the edge of the spine edge of the cover. They'll take a magic marker and put marker on that. Well, you can generally tell that by looking at the inside of the front cover. And if you look and you can see bleed through from the marker, that's a common way to tell whether something's got color touch. It's not foolproof, but it's a common way.
Interesting.
But CGC takes care of that for you.
Yeah, I mean, when they're looking at everything, they really do give it a pretty hard once over.
I don't know all of what they do, but I think they use various kinds of lights, UV light and things to watch for marker and things like that show up.
Interesting.
And they've got some procedures they go through, and I'm not an expert on that, but I do know that they are verifying among other things that book has not been trimmed. It's got no color touch. They've counted the pages. It's not missing a page. It's not missing a coupon. And those things are very important. And those are the kind of things that I think people need to be careful on when they're buying books.
Let's come back to the counting pages thing, but let's take a quick break here, just so we can again recognize some of our friends here, Planet Comicon, and we want to talk a little bit about some of our retailers on this one. So I'm going to bring up our good friends.
Oh yes,
some really cool stuff here. If you haven't, I really look. I'm mispronounce the last name though. Henry Cesneros' work is really cool stuff. I mean, if you can't tell, it's a Mandalorian made out of found objects and stuff. I mean, it's a really amazing stuff. Kitty Works portfolio is awesome. If you want to think of a cat in every sort of superheroic form done as fine art, it's really, really clever stuff. Great print work, all sorts of products there. And then Equilibrium. Equilibrium is, I love this ad of my bag's better than your bag, but we see these guys at Comic-Con all the time who are there and part of our floor retailing group. So missing some of these folks too. I mean, these are friends that we like to see at least once a year. So we hope they're all well, but definitely take a look at their websites. Take a look at their wares, and if you can, find a good deal there for yourself. So, Chris, let's talk a little bit about counting pages. So this is fascinating to me.
This is something that I find really important when you're buying books, and I'm talking more about Silver Age books. To go through a little history, or Silver Age, well, actually through all ages of books.
Yeah, please. Yeah. So, and tell for the folks like me who are just Silver Age. Sure. There's a Bronze Age. There's a Gold Age. Is that right?
Okay, Golden Age would be, I don't know, William, around 1938 up through 1955 or so.
Yeah, I thought it was 50,
give or take.
Yeah.
I don't know. That some people I think say there's an age in between gold and silver, but I don't know about that. I'm a little rusty on that. And then Silver Age would start around 1955. There's a common theory that it starts with showcase number 4, which is the first Silver Age appearance of the Flash, and it goes up around to the end of the 1960s, give or take.
Except people want to include Hulk 181.
Is that, you say that's Silver Age?
No, but there's a whole group of people that want to say Silver Age ends at Hulk 181.
You mean there's a debate?
I haven't heard that. That's interesting.
There's a debate about this stuff. I mean,
there's a huge debate online of whether Hulk 181 or Hulk 180 is the first appearance of Wolverine.
Well, Hulk 180 is definitely the first appearance of the Wolverine.
Well, he's in there, but I mean, the acknowledged...
It's one panel, but he's there.
But there's a whole group of people who I believe have been buying much more affordably 180s and stockpiling them, and are now rallying to the idea that this is the actual first appearance.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes. That people do that. Yeah. And
it's like a big online argument of whether 180 or 181 is the first appearance. And then just to pour gasoline on that fire. Everyone, Chris, me, everyone who's been doing this for a long time, 181 is it. Done deal, 181's the big one.
Uh-huh.
And then Marvel put out a facsimile edition of 180, and the banner says first appearance of Wolverine. So now all the 180 people are like, see, Marvel says.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, it's
there's no doubt that one panel is the first appearance, but everybody's or many people since 74 have considered 181 the full appearance because it's on the cover, it's a full story. But neither here nor there. I don't know. So that's Silver Age. That's an interesting discussion, though. That whole discussion.
That could be a whole other. That could be a whole other
discussion.
Because I want to hear more about the debates. The debates of this are kind of interesting to me.
Then you go into modern age, and you go into what Bronze Age, William. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Here's a Golden Age book.
Yeah.
Here's some things to look at when you're buying books online, whether they be gold, silver, or whatever. You need to know that they're complete. You need to know they haven't been trimmed. They don't have color touch. If so that stuff bothers you.
What year is this?
That would be 1943, probably.
Uh-huh.
Batman, is that 21? Is that what it says?
Batman 21.
And I'm showing that book. Okay, back in the Golden Age, books were 64 pages. They were made with 16 sheets of paper, stapled and folded, plus a cover.
Yeah.
So if you go to the back of that book and you open that book up, I'm showing
off the cover right now, real close detail. You can see.
A great cover too.
Okay.
I know isn't it awesome? I love that.
Batman and Robin were cowboys. That was so cool.
So But if you go to the back of that book and you open it, this is I'm going to talk about that second, because this is in kind of a rare category. I'm going to go back to like a Batman 16 first. This is a coverless copy of Batman 16.
Right.
And now it's obviously missing the cover, but I know this is complete because I've gone through and I've counted the pages. If you start at the back and you count, you'll count to 16. And then you'll be at the centerfold. I'm not going to count each page right here, right now, but you'll be at the centerfold. Okay, the centerfold's popping out of there. There it is. You count 16, you'll be there at the centerfold.
There are people who are probably cringing at home, Chris, as you handle this thing, right?
Yeah, it's coverless. This is just a fun reader.
Yeah.
It doesn't sell for a couple $100, but I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
Right.
So I know that front half is complete. The back half I know is complete. Right. So that book, the interior is complete. I've already looked. There's no coupons clipped. There's nothing like that. Mm-hmm. So books of that era, the standard Golden Age book, 64-page interior, had 16 pieces of paper stapled and folded. Then the other book, then you go to the Batman 21, which was during an odd period during the war when they were trying to save paper. And they used 4 1/2 pages to make that.
So I'm going to pull one.
Go to the back of the book and you'd count to 12, and you'd be at the centerfold.
So I'm going to pull one of these.
Then count to 16 in the front. There weren't very many books like this. That only lasted for a couple of years.
So what we're
or even a few months.
Yeah. So what we're specifically looking at here
is along the spine edge, like to the right of that shadow. Can you run a cursor down there?
Yeah. So
and show where that. The little, it's like on the front half of the book, there'd be a full page. On the back half, there's just that little strip of paper.
Just so they could staple it in.
Yeah.
And kind of slide it in and stick it in. So you have one full page, front and back, and then you had this little flappy bit that appeared somewhere else in the book. You're like, what the heck is this?
So that was another page count back during the war years. That was a very odd page count.
That's weird.
Many people don't know that exists. But it's one of the few occasions where you can have a different number of pages in the back half of the book than the front half and have the book be complete.
Now, does that make the book more rare, more valuable?
No.
It's just a kind of a cool characteristic.
I mean, the book is rare and valuable because most books from that time period are rare, Batman.
Okay.
But no, that doesn't make it more rare and valuable. Now, then they switched to books that were 12 pages.
Mm-hmm.
They were 12 sheets of paper, stapled and folded, with a cover. And that went on for several years too, something like this Archie number 30.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking at that kind of book, you look at the back.
This is how over time the books didn't go up in cover price. They just kept having less and less pages.
That's right. Books were 10 cents from like 1938 to 1961. But that doesn't mean they stayed the same. They went from 64 pages down to 32 pages.
You just got to manage the expectation on the delivery there.
So, but here you'd count at the back, you're going to count to 12, 9, 10, 11, 12. And when I get to 12, I'm going to be at a centerfold, in theory. So, there we go, centerfold. You can see the staples.
Right.
And then you count 12 in the front, then you know the book's complete. It's very common to find books missing a page. So I suggest when you're collecting, particularly older books, that you always count the pages. And so there's 12 and 12. Then they went to the common format, right in mid-50s. They went to the common format of 8 pieces of paper, stapled and folded with a cover. Something like this, X-Men number 15. It's a second appearance of the Sentinels.
And they had to go to 12 cents.
Yes, and it's 12 cents.
Oh, so you less pages, 2 more cents.
It boggles my mind that the writer, artist, inker, publisher, distributor, end seller were somehow splitting 12 cents.
It's crazy. But and from what I hear, the store paid basically either 10 or 11 cents for that book. So they made a penny or two. Yeah. And the books were returnable then. And so the store could like take the cover and they'd strip off the title area with the number here. And they'd send that back. So you'll find a lot of books out there which are missing the top third of the cover. And those are books from the return period. Those are in terrible shape. They don't have a lot of value, but they're great reading. So if you want that book and it's a good price, I recommend them. But so in this book, I count 8 pages. I get to the center staples. I count 8 more in the front, and that book's complete. If you count any different number of pages, step 1, count again, because you can make mistakes. I regularly count 7 or 9 in the back half, and then I have to go count it again.
Weird. Yeah.
And because I've just miscounted.
Sure.
But if you count a number, if there's a number other than, number 1, if there's an odd number of pages in either the front half or the back half, not counting the cover, the book is missing something. I know of no books from, maybe William knows of newer things. I'm not as familiar with newer books. I know of no books up through 2000 or even 2005 or 10 that have an odd number of pieces of paper inside.
No.
So if you count 7 pages on the back and 7 pages on the front, you're missing something.
Well,
often will be the centerfold.
What most likely missing on a Silver Age book is 4 pages because you're missing an entire sheet of paper.
And when I say pages, I mean a piece of paper.
Right.
Because here's a page is this. I'm calling this a page, but this is really a piece of paper.
Now, do you
2 pages, the front and the back.
Yeah. Now, when let's say you're looking at or you're going to bid on something, is this a typical question that you have to ask, Chris? Like, what's the page count? And
I ask constantly.
Yeah.
And I always look at the return policy of the seller. And if they have a no return policy, I always ask. And it drives sellers crazy sometimes because a lot of these sellers do not know whether their books are complete or not.
Yeah.
Here's my suggestion when buying books on eBay, particularly silver, but any book really, silver, gold. Look at the description carefully. See if the seller tells you it's complete. Some sellers will tell you that. Some sellers will tell you nothing clipped, no color touch, no trimming. If they don't tell you that, you need to write to them and ask the questions. And I just have almost a standard email I send through the eBay system. It says, is this book complete? Are there any pages missing? Are there any coupons clipped? Are the panels out? Is there any color touch? Is there any water damage? Is there any trimming?
Or look for people on there that are using non-comic words. I love when people say this is shelf fresh or looks great for its age. You're like, okay, that doesn't tell me anything.
Or I like the ones that say still in its original bag.
Yeah, that never came in a bag.
Never came in a bag, folks. Sorry, didn't come in a bag.
William, I want to come back to you here in a second because you've got a really cool example of the exact same book, technically, but 2 very different values. So I do want to touch base on that in a second here, but we're gonna kick it back over just for a couple more shout outs of some folks, some artists and crafters that are regulars at Planet Comicon Kansas City. Some folks that again that we missed. Nat Rodgers. I think we mentioned Nat last time, but it's still, we're giving people love. And Nat's got a great store there and some amazing work. Topher Kearby, just not dealing with just sci-fi or fantasy type of stuff. Topher has some great sort of array of stuff and some killer poster work from Ryan Cain Design. This is one that caught my eye, but he's got a whole series that is just incredible. And then some crafters here, and I think one of these you're gonna know. Both of them, but the Comic Shadow. We've been talking lots about different kind of comic books and stuff like that. These are really cool 3-dimensional comic covers that they do, and some just really special works of these sort of shadow boxes and raised covers. And then our good friends at Brass Engine Creations. So this is kind of I don't know, it's like we almost planned it. On Sunday, our live stream, our crafter cosplay live stream will be hosted by Brass Engine Creations. Our good friends at US Toy Magic and Costume Shop, Jelly Bean, will be doing the interview on that one. So we'll be talking with Brass Engine Creations and see what they've been up to the last few weeks. But I love their work, their construction work, their leather work, and I think this is probably I saw this D&D journal. I'm pretty sure I need to get this for my son, who has been working on his DM skills pretty hard over the last few weeks while in quarantine. So all right, William. Let's talk covers. We're talking about you. You've got a really cool example here of what is essentially the same book, but 2 different values.
Right. So here is a $300 copy of Chris's favorite book, Amazing Spider-Man number 50.
He's shown that to us on a few times. He has his copy with the autographs and whatnot. But yeah, beautiful cover.
So you can see creases here. So that's a $300 copy.
$300.
I have a graded one I forgot to bring that's, nice. It's a 8.0 or 8.5 or something. It's like $2,000. So, and then there's this copy. This is $575. Those creases are gone, not on this book.
So yeah,
those creases,
put them side by side there. Yes.
Creases are.
Yeah, it's hard to get those creases onto the screen. I know how that is.
Those creases are $275 worth of creases. But if you want, let's just show you. You don't say you see this book and you're like, I don't want to pay $575. I want to own that book. Well, keep looking around. You can find one. It's still complete. Every page is in there.
Yeah.
It's still got a classic cover. Trying to get the light off of it. But it's got a few more creases. But you're going to save, $175.
And just for the joy of collection, for having the book in your collection, yeah. I mean, it's.
Well, I know a lot of collectors that will if they get a chance to get a book like this, they buy it. They put it in their collection, and then they file it away for I'm going to upgrade.
Yes.
Someday later, when I get a better copy, I'll replace that in my collection and sell this one. But they don't want to have Spider-Man 1 through 46 and 53 through 78. They want to have 1 through 100. Buy a cheaper copy, put it in their collection, and then upgrade later.
So, William, what sort of resources do you have access to? Do you have access to anything special or anything different than what the normal consumer would have in terms of just trying to understand value of things that might come in or,
Well, no, all I've done, the only thing I have is I've been buying and grading comics for 25 years. That's I guess one of the other reasons why I'm not that I'm against grading CGC particularly, but it's very helpful if you don't know how to grade books. But if you do know how to grade books and you trust yourself to accurately grade the book, sometimes it seems to me like I'm paying those guys a lot of money to just tell me what I already know. And I think it's odd that they, this guy comes into my shop and I say, hey, this book is in this condition for this price. He's like, boy, I'd really like some dude in Florida that I don't know to tell me that. Like, well, if you send this to a person you don't know in Florida and give him $60, he'll tell you what I just told you. And they go, okay. You mail that to Florida. Get that guy to tell me that.
But there used to be probably a lot of different types of resources. I mean, again, we live in the age of the internet, so you can find anything these days.
Price guide.
I want to show this book. This is the Overstreet Price Guide that's been coming out for 40 some years. And that's been my main reference over the years.
And they still update it on a regular basis?
On an annual basis.
Yeah.
I could talk about the Overstreet Price Guide for an entire show too, but it's a rather thick volume. It's a good reference work, even if some of the pricing is not what people follow as much as they used to.
Right.
But it's still a very good reference work, listing all the comics by title. If you want to know how many issues there were in the run of Ms. Marvel in 1980s, this will tell you.
Well, and also notes first appearances and key appearances.
Yes. That
kind of stuff. So you could look and go like, oh, that's a...
It doesn't list the creators all the time, but sometimes it does. So I want to talk about a couple things regarding some comic etiquette. Things like I talked about if you're buying online, be sure to ask questions so you can find out whether the book's complete. Make sure a dealer will take it back if it's been described improperly. I've had dealers tell me, well, I think the book's complete, and I've had to send them an explanation of how to count pages. And then they'll get back to me. Some of them have still been wrong. And then they'll take a book back afterwards. We'll make sure they will. So there's that. So there's always that etiquette. But let's talk a little bit about etiquette when you're buying at a convention. And because I've had this happen. So here's Millie. But if you're looking at a convention and you're looking through a dealer's boxes or you're looking at something on their backboard, one, don't walk behind their booth and ask and start grabbing at books. Ask them to hand you a book. If they hand you a book, or if you're looking at books through their boxes, you're flipping through boxes, you pull out a book. Don't just pull out of the bag and look at it. Ask whether it's okay to take it out of the bag. Make sure you have permission to do it. And then the most important part, I put 2 pieces of tape on here so flaps don't go up. Remove the tape. Put that tape somewhere not near the book.
So it doesn't drag up against the page.
Well, if the tape is here, and I've had this happen, and I've told people, I've been doing this for years. I know how to beat the tape. Beat the tape. You can pull it out so fast the tape can't pop down and get on the cover and pull a chunk off the cover. At an early Planet Comicon around 2003 or 4, I had a Superman 3, and I mean Superman 3 from 1939. And I was away from the booth, and somebody's watching it for me, and I came back,
This story's
and the
not
person
gonna end
helping me had my Superman 3 there with a big chunk pulled off the cover. Well, a fan came up and wanted to look at it, and I let them. No, don't do that. Ask first and move the tape. And the person, she said, well, I told him he had to stay there till you got back. And she said he just ran away. But as a common courtesy and safety, take the tape off and put it somewhere else.
Right.
Don't play beat the tape. I don't care how long you've been doing this. I don't care. You're not that good that you can always beat the tape. I'm not going to try to beat the tape now, by the way.
Not everybody's Houdini. It's not like the tablecloth.
I know
trick.
this sounds silly, but I want to mention it because this is really important for convention dealers and for stores. I'm sure William would appreciate if people would do that as well.
When people say, hey, can I look at the book? I say, let me take the tape off.
Yes, that's another good idea. And tape is cheap. Books are expensive. So take the tape, put it somewhere else. Put it on your pants, put it on your sleeve, put it somewhere it's not going to end up on the cover of the book.
Let me take the tape off.
Yeah. Chris, I do have Abby's asking, want to know if you have every Millie comic.
Not even close, but it could happen before I die. It is a goal. If I have to live to 100, I'll get them.
Randall says
this is one of the earliest Marvel annuals, and it's actually quite scarce.
I love it. So, William Randall says hi. He says favorite cover, Crow #1. Said he got that from you.
He did.
Oh, okay.
Signed.
Back in the store, back in person.
Yeah, signed.
From me or from William? He got it. He must have got it from William.
He got it from William.
I was going to say, I don't remember that. I don't remember having a Crow #1 signed.
And William, do you grade? Do you grade collections?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you?
4 people?
Yeah. We have somebody who's asking on, and they want to talk. They want to ask what you charge, and I'll let you do that however you want to.
Straight out, that's no, but it's $100 an hour.
Okay.
Many people want dealers. They guess they think the dealer's time is free. They come with books. They do it at conventions too. They walk up. How much is this worth? Well, I'm not really interested in discussing what it's worth unless you're interested in selling it to me, or unless you're paying me for my expertise. Yeah. One of those two things.
Your time's
I've
worth
done
something.
Insurance grading. I've graded collections for insurance companies before. It's been years, but I've done that.
You know what the insurance company doesn't worry about? $100 an hour.
No, they don't. They don't. Yeah. They'll pay it.
Right. Here's another one, and we do have to take a break here in a second here. But Robert Mitchell, back in the day, I got my comics from Circle K or Osco Drug Store or Safeway. But nowadays, I get my comics at AZ, Elite, Bebop, and Clint's. So
while we've got that up there, let me mention.
Right.
Just because I like that. I like that segue because all the local stores have helped Planet since the beginning.
Right. And
all those stores mentioned there.
Yeah.
A to Z, Bebop, all of Elite, of course. William, I don't mean to mention just your competitors, but all those stores have helped me so much over the years, and I appreciate it.
I got
Pop Culture Comics, Frank at Bebop, Sharon at Clint's. It used to be Jim at Clint's, of course, but Sharon at Clint's now.
Yep.
All these stores have helped us for years, and please find all these comic stores. Support your local comic shops.
And of
I
course,
got a phone call from Deb at A to Z today, which I don't talk to her that much. She called to apologize because she accidentally sent a crazy person my way trying to sell some autographs. After I recommended they talk to you, it became clear that they were unhinged. I just wanted to apologize for sending them your way.
Well, welcome to Elite Comics.
Debbie at A to Z has been great. Debbie's been helping me since the beginning, supporting the show. She rarely comes to the show, which I find so odd. She's got a great store out there in Blue Springs on 40 Highway.
Yeah.
And nice books, wonderful woman. I don't see her very often, but she's been supporting the show literally for more than 20 years.
Yeah, she's
almost as long as William, but not quite.
Yeah, she's out in my neck of the woods here, and then of course some other folks that come in, for Planet Comicon.
These are exhibitors at the convention, not local stores, but
right. Yes. So some good important folks that you can support, people that are reputable, people. I mean, we bring in folks that we want to do business with and who have put in front of our attendees. So these are all folks that we know and trust. So definitely check them out, and we'll keep looking through some of these comics here. We're starting to wrap some things up, but I definitely want some questions from the audience here. I know you guys can go on for like.
I can take a little more time. I don't mind going a little
We got
long.
a couple more covers we can go through. I know William's got stuff that's laying around there, but here's a really interesting question. When's the market for Extreme Studios back issues going to explode? I don't know if this is I don't. This is lost on me, guys. Help me out.
I think I could engineer marking up some Extreme Studio books for Nate, just so that he and I could make those books that we probably both own worth more than the nothing that they're worth now. Well, all it would take is someone to make a movie of one of the Extreme Studio books.
Right.
As soon as they sign a movie deal, me and Nate are going to make out on those Extreme books.
Well, you got Chris. You gave me one earlier too to take a look at here. Let me do a little.
Here was an example of another question I often ask: Why did they grade this book?
Now, I will say the cover art. I mean, come on. I'm just
the cover art's great, no question. I love it.
I love being able to look at these things so close. This is like I can feel like I can put my nose up against it and not feel bad. I love the cover art, the perspective. It's pretty cool.
I bought this in a collection years ago, and it's graded 1.8. It's less than good. The lower right corner's literally got a bug chew. Part of the corner's gone.
1963.
And this cost, I don't know, $30, $40 to grade, and the book would be absolute outside in a $5 bin.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like the aliens, though, are a battle between Tostitos and Doritos. On their chip.
That's very funny.
The round chip, triangle chips.
You have to wonder, is it I don't know, is it like, rank? Is it political affiliation? Is it like that's the science guy, I'm the commanding officer kind of a thing?
Strange Adventures are the best. Every cover is so weird. I mean, every cover you look like these guys are lying.
I have no use for people with yellow circles. That's all I'm saying.
That's right. I know how anti-yellow circle you are, Chris.
Anti-yellow circle. You got to be a yellow diamond, or I'm not interested, or yellow triangle, or I'm not interested.
Dustin Evans says Team Doritos. So.
Yeah. But that book's fun. By the way, I'm not commenting on the quality of the reading. Those books are so fun to read.
Sure.
And the art is so interesting. But why bother to grade a book that's going to be 1.8? I just don't get it.
Condition, and now you can't read it either.
Yeah. Now you can't read it. I would break that book out to read it, but I think it's so fun to own a book that somebody paid that much money to slab as a 1.8.
Well, I got in a collection a brand new variant cover at a 5.0. I'm like, what the hell? Why is it? I'm looking at it. It's fun. I look up the grading notes, and then I look inside. It has a 6-inch spine split. Now, it's like, who sends a brand new book with the giant tear in the spine to get graded?
Well, in theory, something with a 6-inch spine split's not supposed to be better than like a 2.0. In theory.
Yeah.
I had a Spider-Man 1 that was really sharp, but had a 1.5-inch spine split, and they graded it 3.5. It's one of the few books I just broke it out of the case, the CGC case, and sold it raw because the grade was so bad. This has been several years ago. That's something else altogether.
So here's another one. This is beautiful.
Here's Iron Man 1 from 1968 when he first got his own title.
Mm-hmm.
Great cover.
It's
Stan
so
Lee
beautiful.
side. That's a very classic cover. Classic cover.
Look at that. This is great.
So
big premiere issue. Nice corners.
Yep. That one's very nice shape.
Yeah.
I was pleased with the grade on that. I didn't expect. Well, I was hoping for a 9, but I got an 8.5. That's okay. So
let's see. There's a let's see. While we can get up close and personal with these, there's another one here that I love.
So William and I talk about what do people collect, and we talked about that earlier. There's that actually is I think my own copy of Daredevil 1.
Mm-hmm.
But I picked it up many years ago, and kept it around forever. And finally, when Stan Lee came to town in 2016, I had him sign it and had it graded because that actually is an investment book. So
yeah, that's really. I mean,
it's not high grade, but I mean it's mid grade, still valuable. First Daredevil.
Looks clean.
Yeah, it's clean. I think 5.0 is an accurate grade on it. I don't always agree with CGC. Nobody always agrees with there's always some disagreement somewhere.
Sure.
But overall, they've done a pretty darn good job with most things I look at.
Yeah.
But William and I always talk about, and we mentioned this to you the other day, in collecting, collect what you like. When somebody comes in and says, well, what should I buy? What should I collect? Collect what you enjoy. Pick up some things. Well, I think William finds in his store that he makes suggestions. Well, what kind of things do you enjoy? Maybe I can guide you to a book you might like.
Yeah.
Or he'll guide them to some of our some of the properties he knows are good.
Yeah. Or I'll sometimes just say, like, what kind of movies do you like?
Yeah.
Oh, I love heist movies or crime movies. Like, oh, well, then here's a book you would like. Or I love Lord of the Rings. You're like, oh, well, then try this,
I mean, you'll find out, are you going to guide them towards Cullen Bunn's Six Gun, or are you going to guide them towards Neil Gaiman's Sandman, or are you going to guide them towards Why the Last Man? Are you going to guide them towards a straight superhero book?
Mm-hmm.
William can kind of evaluate that and help. But that's an important thing on what to collect, what you enjoy. And you can see that I enjoy some books. So you get there.
Yes, and if you really want to be a thrifty collector, you could be like Chris and enjoy merely the model, where there is very little competition for other people trying to buy them all.
There used to be almost no competition. You could buy almost any issue for $5 or $10 max, and that's just so much change lately. I should shut up about Millie because I don't want the prices to go up anymore. I want to until I own them all.
I love this. I mean, people basically says I lost my mind when I found the Tick section. People are just going to get you.
Tick is a great book.
It's a great book.
It's so fun. It's so silly.
Yeah. And here's, I think, this is an important one because we are going to have to start to wrap up, guys. Like I know we could do this forever, but this is one's timely. William, are you going to have any rules in place, new rules in place regarding handling of comics moving forward?
We are. Monday is our first day open after the shutdown, and we're going to have when you come in. There's my home phone ringing.
There you go.
You're going to have to use hand sanitizer, which I will provide right there on the counter. And I'm going to require everyone to wear a face mask.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to get sick. I don't want anyone else to get sick. I don't want to go into quarantine. I've got some extra, the medical surgeon's mask there if you don't have one. But I asked people yesterday online if they were going to mind, and no one seemed to care. Everyone was like, I just want to get back in the shop. I don't care if I have to use a little hand sanitizer. I mean, hell, they're superheroes. All of them are wearing masks. I think we'll be fine.
That's right.
Finally, society's caught up with our characters.
Yes. My cash register now, so it's like you're buying comics from a salad bar. But
it reminds me of that classic Saturday Night Live skit with I think was it William Shatner or something like that. There's no, they turned the Star Trek, they turned the Enterprise into a restaurant, into a buffet. Yeah. And the Klingons come in and they complain that there's no sneeze guard on the salad bar.
Yeah.
Sorry. Just get out there.
Like when you had your opening credits and we were seeing all those crowds at Planet, I was like, man, I can't wait to get back to where everyone could just get together in the same room and all we're going to get is con crud and won't kill you. You just feel like crap for 3 weeks.
That's right.
I have no problem with enjoying a convention and then feeling a little bit off for a few days.
Yeah.
So it's just the way we do it. And I just hope we get to that point again where we're there.
I hear you guys.
See a thing like that and be like longing for like, oh man, if I could just be elbow to elbow in a room with a million people trying to rush back and buy comics and all that stuff. And I hope we can get there soon.
Yeah, for sure. Well, until then, we're going to keep doing stuff like this. We're going to keep getting together. We're going to keep nerding out, geeking out whenever we can. And we're going to do it again for sure next Wednesday. We've got some great things that are going to be happening again on Sunday with our Cosplay Crafter series. This week, we are going to be featuring our good friends at Brass Engine Creations. So U.S. Toy Magic and Costume Shop, Dustin Evans Photography. Dustin, who's been behind the scenes here, looking at comics and, chiming in and being part of the Peanut Gallery, will actually be behind the controls. And then Jelly Bean from U.S. Toy Magic and Costume will be talking with the good folks at Brass Engine. So that's going to be a good time. And we've got more stuff that we're gonna be bringing in as time goes on here. And we have to do what we have to do. I am grateful, though, William, that you'll be getting the doors open and maybe we can get back to some sense of, routine and ritual, and that Wednesday ritual
I
is
was thinking about
so
it today.
important.
It's been so long since I've had one of these totally meaningless arguments with a group of people of, what ingredients are on a choke sandwich and who's the third best quarterback in the AFC and why is Chris and Miller the model? All these total. I don't want any more serious conversation. I want my silly, meaningless arguments that we have every week.
So does this mean that next Wednesday, I know you're going to be opening it back up, but you're going to be back here with us so we can at least maybe hear a little bit about what's going on?
And then the Wednesday after that is actual books, and I'll be at the shop slinging.
So we're gonna have to figure something else out on this. He'll be busy on Wednesday, so we're gonna have to readjust a little bit. I think.
Well, maybe we can have some friends in. And
Instead of just
I can make one announcement. On Thursday, the 14th, we will be talking with Kara Eberly and Elizabeth Maxwell from Ruby.
Awesome.
I just got that confirmed today, and I was hoping to have them on the 7th next week, but that didn't happen because one of them was busy. So it'll be after that. We're going to, by the way, be promoting Rachel Scarston and her group's HomeCon again soon. We'll have some of that on our social media. And by the way, Elizabeth Maxwell, I believe, will be on Mike Broder of GalaxyCon. He's having a virtual event next week, I think on the 6th or 7th. And so you can find Elizabeth Maxwell there as well. You go to the GalaxyCon Facebook page.
It's super cool. HomeCon, GalaxyCon. Chris, what you're doing, William, for joining us, for making sure that the conversation continues and that we still have these opportunities to geek out about lots of fun things and have meaningful arguments about stuff that's inconsequential but important to us, right?
Yeah.
So, and hopefully we'll do that. We can have a little bit more face-to-face time with that. So, but until that happens, thanks again, guys. Thanks again to our sponsors who make all this sort of wonderful shenanigans that we go up, we get to have every week. Nebraska Furniture Mart, Boulevard Brewing, U.S. Army, KCWE, Geico, UMB, Xfinity, who is powering my neck of the woods, 5 Hour Energy, T-Mobile, the Mavericks, KC Live. Hope to get back to KC Live sometime soon here. And the good friends at the state of Oklahoma, which is just a beautiful way of just kind of saying, come to Oklahoma. Chris, again, we'll see Jelly Bean on Sunday. Dustin, thank you so very much. And until next time, guys, be well, all right?
Absolutely. And I want to tell people they can contact me if they have questions about these things they need to ask about books. So they want to know about page counts. They want to know about color touch. Send us contact us through Facebook. Send an email to Planet.
Throw comments too, because Chris comments.
Yeah, and I'll look at comments too. If you have questions about that, I want to help people buy comics in a more responsible way and be happy.
And William, you're saying?
Don't contact me. Come to the store. Don't call me or email me. If you'd like to talk about comics next Monday.
Absolutely. Sorry, William, I talked over you there.
I'm so tired of email, instant message, phone. I want 3 months. I don't want to talk to anyone except person to person.
There you go, man. Well, hopefully we can get back to that super soon. All right.
All right. Thanks.
See you guys.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your time.
Yep.
Mission sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. We have a liftoff. Liftoff on Apollo 11.